We hope you're enjoying the Product-Led Festival so far. We've yet another exciting session coming your way, but before we get started, we'd like to take a moment to thank every one of our sponsors, speakers, and partners. Without them, we wouldn't be able to bring this incredible event to life. Don't forget, speakers are going to be answering your questions, so stick around and ask your questions to get the advice from a true expert in the field tailored to you. It's that simple. Now, enjoy the next session.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Product-Led Festival. It's great to have you with us once again. I'm really excited for this next session. It's going to be a really interesting one. Just a reminder, visit the productledalliance.com. That's productledalliance.com for more resources. There's loads of useful things in there. And you can also check out the winners from our PLA awards, which were announced earlier. So do be sure to have a look at that. We also have access to our free Slack community that's got 7,500 PLG pros in there, as well as some membership options for even more. Do remember to submit your questions to our speakers through the chat box. You don't need to wait until the end of the session. Put them in there as you think of them, and we'll tackle them at the end. Now, on with the next session. So I'm delighted to invite Ronki Magikodumi to the stage to join me. Nice to see you, Ronki. Now, Ronki is the Director of Product Management for Promevo, and she will be talking about the lessons of transformational leadership. So without any further ado, I'll get out of the way and I'll hand over to you, Ronki.
Thank you so much, James. Thank you, PLA, for having me. And everybody, thank you so much for taking time to attend this session. So I wanted to talk today about the lessons of transformational leadership. So as James said, I'm Ronki Magikodumi, Director of Product at Promevo. For most of my career, I've worked in fintech. I've helped to build B2B platforms and B2C platforms. At Promevo, I help to build tools and functionality for small businesses, medium businesses, large enterprises, and for educators. Everything from onboarding their staff to offboarding their staff, everything in between. I help to provide tools so that they can grow and manage the business at scale. So I always like to start my presentations by talking about my PM superpower. I believe every PM has a superpower, so I like to share mine. I thrive in finding opportunities beyond the sight of others. What does that mean? It means when I get a no, when I think that I can't get my product out the door, when I think, oh, this is it, we have to say no. We have to go back to our leadership and say we can't build this feature. I take some time out and I look for other options. Sometimes it may mean literally building one feature, minimum lovable, and getting that out the door. And sometimes it means going back to my cross-functional partners, my design partner, my tech lead, to talk about other things that we can do. But I always find ways. So I look for opportunities beyond the sight of others. And that is so important because that's how I'm able to make a difference in any organization that I work at. So I wanted to start. John Meacham is one of my favorite historians. And I wanted to start with this quote. He says, I tell you what leadership it is. It is persuasion and conciliation and education and patience. And he's so right. Leadership means it's not about you. It's about your team. It's about looking out for them, not just for their well-being, but also their personal ambitions and their professional ambitions and helping them to bring that to fruition. Really checking in to understand what it is that drives them, motivates them, what is their aspiration. And it is slow and it is tough work and it does require patience. But I'm so grateful that I get to lead every single day. And one of my biggest things is, did I get a chance to make a difference in someone's life? So I wanted to start with this quote. So great product managers build people and products. I'm a firm believer in that. We just don't build products, we build people. What do I mean by that? We build people, not just our cross-functional partners, but our customers, our Scrum teams, our marketing partner, our leadership. We help to build people. If we build people, we build products. If our colleagues and our cross-functional partners feel safe and feel like they can share their thoughts and their views with us and understand that we care about their well-being, well, they're going to come to work and be their authentic self. And therefore, we can build great products. So I also wanted to share this with you all. I personally believe that product management is one of the most humbling responsibilities that we have out there because it is a job of humans. And so, therefore, transformational leaders, we have to seek to build a community, an environment where every single person is supported. So, therefore, we lead our teams from within, not above them. If we lead our teams from within, we get to make a difference, not just in their lives, but in the product, in our customers' lives as well. So, I see leadership as it's a person or group of people with the ability to affect and guide everybody in our organization. And I'm going to talk about how we do that in a minute and why it's so important. So I'm going to talk about that. So let's get going, shall we? Transformational. So I described transformational leadership as a style where the leaders and direct reports and colleagues within the organization uplift each other. Meaning, whenever there are challenges, I have a group of people around me that will help me to find a solution for that challenge. If whether it's a customer problem, whether it's a different kind of challenge, it doesn't matter what it is, but I have a group of people around me to help me solve it. So an example of that I'm going to give is I believe in sharing my product vision with everybody, every single person in my team, cross-functional organization. I just share my product vision. So what that means is, if let's say I go to stand up and there's a customer problem, I don't keep that customer problem to myself. I share it at stand up afterwards. I share it with my design partner. I share it with my tech lead, and we look for ways to solve the problem together. So I'm not going outside of them. I'm working within my team. And what I find is when I do that, it's not just my ideas that come to the table, it's their ideas as well. And therefore, we're able to solve that problem for the customer. And I think that's important because I can't do it all myself. So transformational leaders, we lead our organization from within, not above them. So we're going to talk about the main takeaways today. Well, we're going to have the importance of transformational leadership in product. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about championing a culture of intellectual fortitude. And of course, how do you communicate a clear product vision? So let's get going, shall we? So transformational leadership to me in product management means that as a leader, I believe that all our differences is what makes us better. It's what unites us. It's what helps us to build great products. So what do I mean by that? Well, I believe that diversity, inclusion, and belonging is important in our cross-functional team. So as a product leader, one of the things I'm going to be doing is making sure that all my cross-functional partners, that they are all embodiment of diverse geography, diverse gender, diverse thought. They all come from diverse circumstances. And the reason why this is so important is because because especially if you're building for a global market, the global market has an emerging demographic that is just diverse, and they have different needs. And the only way we're going to be able to solve their need and meet them where they are is to have diverse people in our organization that come from diverse circumstances and diverse viewpoints so that we can build the right product. So that we're not looking at building a solution with just one set of eyes, but we can look at it through many sets of eyes. And the way to do that is to make sure that our teams are just as diverse as possible, because we need those different viewpoints. And the other reason why this is so important is because I'm a firm believer in generating ideas for my cross-functional team. There is no one idea that solves everything, but really, really checking in and figuring out, okay, but not using not just saying, yes, this is what's around, therefore we're going to use it, but really challenging ourselves to figure out, well, how might we fix this problem if there were no barriers? If we weren't worried about the code or the technology, how might we fix this? Really challenging ourselves to solve not just today's problem, but tomorrow's problem as well. So transformational leadership in product management is extremely important. And that is how I look at it. I strive to make sure, not just do I care about the well-being of my team, I care about their aspirations. I want to know where they want to be professionally and personally, but also to make sure that we have diverse people, and also to make sure that we're all that we're all there to solve the customer problem. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute and how we do that together. So, championing a culture of intellectual fortitude. What do I mean by that? So, I talked about how transformational leadership is important in product management. Well, to champion intellectual fortitude, which is to champion bravery, that means I need to step away and let the team, my cross-functional partner, bring the most craziest ideas to the table. Means that I'm not going to stop them from dreaming big and being imaginative and being inspired. In fact, I'm looking for ways to inspire them. I want them to be so inspired that they're going to come to the table with the most craziest ideas, and we're going to work through it together. And in order for my cross-functional partners, no matter who they are, whether it's my Scrum team, whether it's the design lead, for them to feel like they can bring in all the craziest ideas, I have to create a safe environment for them. So therefore, if they have that safe environment where I don't penalize them for taking the time to go come up with the craziest ideas, in fact, I welcome it, well, then I'm championing a culture of intellectual bravery, intellectual fortitude. I'm telling them it doesn't matter how crazy the idea is, bring it to the table and we'll work it out together and figure out how to solve. Not because, again, we're not solving just for today, we're solving for tomorrow as well, tomorrow's problems as well. That emerging demographic that I talked about earlier, the only way we're going to solve their problem is to meet them where they are. The only way we're going to meet them where they are to solve those problems, well, we can't be afraid to build the coolest solutions. We can't be afraid. So therefore, I believe it's important that we champion a culture of intellectual fortitude. So let's keep going, shall we? And then I want to talk about transformational leaders always communicate clear product vision. How do we do that? Well, so I'm a firm believer that as product managers, product leaders, we are evangelists, right? We have to tell our story, to the story of our product, to every single person in our organization. And in order to move our organization towards the vision of our product, we have to start from the get-go. And that get-go is this. Let's start with our core value. The reason why we all come to work every single day is because we believe in the values of our organization. So check, we already have that, right? And that's where the love of our product will come from. So we already have that, that's checked. We have our core value, we're all aligned with our core value. So now it's about executing. So how do we execute? Well, I'm a firm believer that it starts with storytelling. If I can tell you a story of the pain point that my customer is having, but if I can tell you that story in a compelling way, not by throwing numbers at you because you're not going to remember numbers, but I have to tell you that story in a way where it generates empathy, where it's a narration, there's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end, and it can compel you. Well, then that story is going to travel because that story has empathy, because you feel that customer's pain. You'll be able to then tell other people that story. And then that other person will tell somebody else that story. And so I firmly believe that it starts with storytelling. And the way I also tell my story, by the way, is as I work with my design partners to tell that story through a wireframe sometimes. I believe that design should drive the conversation, because if I'm showing you the customer pain now, and I'm showing you what the possible solution could be through a wireframe, I'm transforming you, the audience, and you'll feel that customer's pain, and you all of a sudden you align with me to fix it through that experience that I'm just showing you. So the story has to travel. It is important. And the reason why the story has to travel is this. You're not going to be around as a product leader to tell every single story every single time. But if you tell that story and it's compelling enough, that means that your partners, whether they're design, marketing, your Scrum team, your technical support team, your customer support team, your relationship management, it doesn't matter. They will be able to convey that story, not just to customers, but to everybody else internally within your organization. And all of a sudden, everybody understands your mission, your vision, and what you're trying to do. So not only are you aligned with your core value, which is where the love of your product comes from, but now everybody understands the story of your product. And most importantly, they understand that your product helps your customer to become the hero in their organization because they're using your product to solve a problem. And if your customer is a hero in their organization, well, they're going to stay with you. They're not going to go to your competitor because you made them the hero. So communicating clear vision, I cannot emphasize it enough. Transformational leadership is one of my favorite leadership styles because I get to build my teams and I get to build great products. So I want to end my presentation by talking about how being a product, like I said, it's just so humbling. And my goal is to motivate my cross-functional teams to think big, to be more versed, but I want them to develop into more. And that to me is the embodiment of leadership. It's not about my promotion, it's about my team. How do I get them to be more than they aspire to be? Because that's the only way I'm going to build the best products. So thank you, everybody. But I also wanted to share with you, as I said, my PM superpower, which you guys are aware of. I look for insights being on the side of others. I'm a big, as a product manager, I love to read books. I love storytelling. So I love to read other people's stories. So these are some of my favorite books, especially as we're talking about leadership today. So these are some of my favorite resources when it comes to book. All of these books have made a difference in my life. I highly recommend them. And these are my favorite podcasts. Again, I walk every day. And when I go to walk, I'm listening to podcasts. I'm listening to other product leaders tell their story. That's the thing, right, about storytelling. All these people are telling their story about how they do their job, how they are successful as product leaders. I love to hear stories. So these are some podcasts that I recommend. And I want to end my presentation by talking about the alarm clock test. So I'm going to, again, this is from John Meacham. John Meacham talks about the fact that he talks about the portrait test, right? Like if there's a portrait of us, what do we want people to think about us? What is our journey? What was our purpose? Well, to distill a little bit smaller, what is the alarm clock test? When we get up every single morning and our alarm clock rings, what do we aim to do in the world? I aim to make a difference, to put a ding in the universe, in the words of Steve Jobs. So today presenting to you all is a little bit of that for me. I got to make a difference today, hopefully. So with the alarm clock test, I wanted to present it to you all because I live by this. It's really important, especially as a transformational leader. So I wanted to thank you all for that. So I wanted to show that. And I wanted to thank you all so much for taking the time to attend this webinar today. Here's my information and how you can reach me. I want to thank PLA for inviting me to this lovely festival. And thank you so much for including me.
Not at all, Ronki. Thank you for being willing to take part. I think that's really, really interesting. So yeah, I really appreciate you participating and lots of really useful information for the audience there. So thank you on their behalf as well. So we are going to have some time for questions.
Sure.
So if you would like to ask Ronki a question, do drop that into the chat box and we will go through them as they come through. So while people are having a minute to type those in, I know there's a short delay on the feed as well. So while people are typing those in, I'll kick off with a question of my own. I thought it'd be really interesting to know a little bit more about how transformational leadership can encourage innovation, if you wouldn't mind kind of talking a little around that.
Sure, no problem. So I think that everybody, functional partners, need to feel safe, right? They need to feel safe. They need to feel heard and listened to. That's all that, the science of humanity, of human relationship is that we all want to be seen. We all want to be heard and validated, right? So if your cross-functional partners, it doesn't matter who they are, whether they're your tech lead or your design lead or your scrum team, if they can bring big ideas to the table, that's how you're going to be innovative, right? Not the status quo, not, oh, I'm just going to add a checkbox here, but really think about that customer problem and how you're not just solving it for today, but you're solving it for tomorrow. But most importantly, you want to solve it for everybody, not just for a certain segment of society. So that's why it's important, because if you're innovative, you're not just building for one segment or for today, you're thinking about how do I change the status quo? How do I build the best products that it doesn't matter who you are in the world, you can use it. And I think that's important with innovation. That's how we're going to continue to make a difference and build products that are going to continue to change humanity.
Absolutely. It sounds like that's quite a long-term way of working as well. So you kind of naturally are avoiding that kind of short-termism problem as well.
Exactly, and that's important, right? Because so there's this little test that I always kind of play because I'm going to leave my organization one day, so somebody else is going to take over my role. What do I want that person to take? What do I want that person to see, right? When they take over my role, what legacy am I leaving for them? Do I want them to come in and have a mess, or do I want them to come in and go, oh, the person that was here before me is really trying to solve some big problems for our customers. Okay, I can take it and move the button, move the needle from there. So
Yeah, absolutely. And that's certainly a good way to build a strong reputation within the industry as well. If people are coming in after you and finding, oh, that was great work, and then it kind of builds that natural reputation rather than leaving messes, which nobody wants to come in and find a mess that they've got to clean up, certainly. So I can see some questions have come through. So my internet seems to
can you hear me?
I seem to have a little gremlin in the system there, but they
No
seem to have
worries.
left me alone now. So we're back in business. I can see we've got some questions come through in the chat there. So the first one is, who was the first? Here we go. John F. Why is people leadership important in product management?
Oh, it's so important because it's about your team, it's about your cross-functional partners, it's about your direct reports, and if they don't feel so, studies show that if employees feel like you truly care about them, they will come to work and be their best and be their authentic self, right? People want to know that you know their birthday. They want to know you genuinely care about their well-being. They want to know that they can take a day off to go do something and rest and take time off. They want to know that when they come that they can come back to work and it's okay, right? But mostly people just want to be validated and seen. So if you build the people around you, including your direct reports, well, they're going to come to work and be their best. And if they come to work and be their best, they're going to look for innovative ways to solve problems because they care about their customers just like you do.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you. I can see a question here from Justin Coffin. Justin says, what are some of the reasons some companies are not product-led and are held back from truly transforming the organization?
So I'm going to answer that question in multiple ways. There are multiple answers to that question. So sometimes when an organization is not product-led, it means the voice of the product manager is muted. So meaning the product manager cannot be customer focused or customer obsessed. I love being customer obsessed, meaning the customer is not at the center of every decision being made, right? Because they're just not customer driven. That's one, right? And also it starts from the leadership. If the leadership of the organization is customer driven, customer focused, then it changes, right? On the bottom, right? If so you've heard of bottoms up and top down approach. What I love are organizations where on the bottom, myself, my tech lead, and my design lead can literally not only go to customer meetings, not only review the design, the experience with our customers, but with our research partners, but come back to our leadership and say, this is the MVP. This is the story. This is the MVP. We're not going to build the North Star, but this is the MVP. And this is why we're recommending this MVP. This is how it moves the needle for the customer, right? But you notice it comes from the bottom up, right? I find that when it comes from the top down, or it's not an engineer, or it's not a product-led organization, then product managers don't have a voice. And if you don't have a voice, you're just kind of doing what you're being told, and the customer suffers at the end. So, but it starts from the top. What does leadership want? What kind of organization do they want? Do they want an organization that's solving problems for customers, or an organization where the product leader just doesn't have a voice and they're just muted and they just do what they're told?
Yeah, absolutely. So I suppose that begs another question, which is, how do you, as a product function, as a product leader, go about cultivating that culture within senior management, within senior leadership, outside of product, that they do want to have that, bottom-up approach. They want to have that voice of the customer brought through your team.
So I believe in storytelling, right? If I went to my leadership and I said, oh, it takes 7 hours for a customer to create an account, that doesn't mean anything to them. They're like, okay, well, so what exactly is the problem there? But if I show you a presentation where the customer is literally copying, if I show you a video presentation and the customer is literally copying from an Excel spreadsheet into our platform, and they're literally doing that just to create an account or something like that, well, you feel that pain, right? You understand that pain. It's compelling to you. You feel empathy. So then you're going to look at me and go, how quickly can you fix that? Right? So I think storytelling makes a difference. Not just showing numbers. Nobody remembers numbers, by the way. But if you create a story where I can feel empathy for that person, what they are going through, I'm going to work with you to solve that problem. Even if if you can't solve it overnight and we have to kind of chip away at it, I'm going to support you. But if I don't understand the pain point and I don't feel it and I don't have the empathy, well then, yeah, it's just all noise to me at that point.
Absolutely. I suppose it's giving them that perspective and allowing them to see it from that point of view that they can then empathize and see the motivation as to why. Absolutely, that's great. I can see another question there. So Justin says, thank you so much. Also, would be curious, what are some ways to level up to go from an IC to people leader in product?
Oh, that's a great question. So this is just from my experience. I think it starts with your cross-functional partners. How do you take care of your cross-functional partner? I think people leaders, it's not just about having a direct report, but it's about everybody else around you. How do you take care of them? How do you bring them into the fold? How do you collaborate with them? Those are all things that your leaders are looking at. Those are all things that your boss's boss are looking at, right? To see who you are at the end of the day. Whether you only care about your own promotion or whether you really truly care about your team. So an example of that I mean is when I present to my leadership, it's not just Ronki presenting. It's Ronki, the tech lead, and the design lead and data scientist presenting. So you see how my collaboration there, I've been collaborating with them all along and then we present together, right? I start the presentation. My tech lead, my design lead takes it and then tells the story of the persona, the before, what they're experiencing now and the after. My tech lead will then talk about whether or not he's going to incur technical debt to build the MVP. Data scientist helps us to kind of talk about our metrics. But you notice how I brought 3 additional people with me, and it's not just my voice that's in the room. And before that meeting, I've already been collaborating with them all along. My research partner, my marketing partner, it's about how I treat them and bring them into the loop and tell the story of my product so that they're not hearing it from somebody else. And I think it starts from there. How do you take care of the people around you? I think people are looking at that. And if they see you really being a people leader that way, then, it's a natural progression.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that I would just add to that and build on is just having that integrity and kind of doing it when people aren't watching. Like, it's great to bring, like you're saying, show those people, but that works, you bringing those people with you to that presentation because you've been collaborating with them already.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's about doing that and living that, as I know you do. Great. So I know we have just a couple of minutes left, about 90 seconds, I think. So there was one more question that I just wanted to get in, which was, how does transformational leadership impact diversity in product management?
Oh, it's very important because especially if you're building a global product and that global product is going to have a diverse people within that, and you have to meet them where they are, right? Because don't forget, their needs are changing every single day. They're not waiting for you, right? So how do you build for a diverse group of people? Your organization needs to be diverse, right? So you need to have people who are diverse in gender, thought, in geography, lived experiences, circumstances, because you need all those viewpoints when you're building your product. And the other thing I wanted to mention is, also is neurodiversity is also important as well, right? But those things matter. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that customers are savvy. Customers are very savvy, and they are looking at the organization that they are working with, that represent them. Is that organization diverse, right? Are there people that look like me in that organization? Because if there are people that look like me in that organization, then they're building for me. They're not just building for one particular segment. So that stuff is very important. Whether you're a small business or a large enterprise or a medium, you want to see people who look like you in organizations that you work with, because you want to be assured they are thinking about you and your needs, not just a particular group of people. So it's very important. And the world, as the world continues, I mean, look at COVID, for instance, right? None of us could imagine COVID, but yet look at all the things we needed with COVID. We needed an app to track all the vaccines that I've been getting, right? We needed so many other things, but not just for one segment, right? For everybody. So how do we build those innovative products? We need diverse people.
Absolutely fantastic. Okay, great. Well, unfortunately, we are at time there, I'm afraid to say. But if you want to follow up with Ronki, please do connect with her on LinkedIn and reach out. I'm sure she'll be more than happy to hear from you. So do that. All that's left for me to say again is thank you, Ronki, and we'll see everybody in the next session.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. Bye.
Thank you.